Hello, I'm Paul Beckwith. Most of you are aware of this massive ongoing flooding that is occurring in the US Midwest. So, this video is just going to focus on this. I'm going to look at the overall picture of the climate system to say, how these events are becoming much more frequent based on the locations of the jet streams and the persistent weather patterns that we're seeing, and I'll show you some of the meteorology and discuss some of the consequences. And I think the biggest consequence of this type of flooding is the effect on the global food supply. So, I got a friend here who's the hero of my YouTube videos. So, you all know this guy, Shackleton. Say hello. Say hello. Okay, so let's get right into the into looking at what is going on. I don't have any cat food for him, so I don't know if he's going to stick around. Okay, so this is a very powerful image. About early March, about a third of the way into March, we had this bomb cyclone in the U.S. dumping huge amounts of snow, which then melted, creating all of these floods. And we're getting deja vu. We're seeing a similar sort of thing happening right now, a month later. And this situation is not going to change. NOAA has actually said that the risk of ongoing flooding in April and May across vast parts of the U.S. Midwest is a big concern. So this is a video that was just posted. So there's a highway at the back here. This is a flooded Oregon highway. What you can see is this crazy guy in this boat goes zipping across the highway. I mean, there must be all kinds of debris in the water, and here he is speeding along. I assume it's a male, high risk alpha male, gets out his boat, says, "Hey, look what we can do." Amazed it doesn't hit something, and there's an expanded view. So you've got this highway, and up here flooded, and these guys are zipping around. So, these images there's far too many of these images in the U.S. right now and across the world. I mean, we can talk about the flooding in Iran, for example. We can talk about the massive 2 or 3 months of rainfall in Rio de Janeiro, overnight, which caused enormous flooding. There's just all kinds of these things going on. So I just want to remind you, this is my blog website. And so I usually post, a number of videos and then write it up in this blog. So please consider donating to support my my ongoing efforts to bring you the past, present, and future in abrupt, rapid climate change, joining the dots on the climate system. So if you this is paulbeckwith.net. If you just Google paulbeckwith.net, you can find my my blog. Now, this on my Facebook page here, I've been posting a lot of stuff about this is bombogenesis created this bomb cyclone. It's defined as a pressure drop of a millibar an hour sustained over 24 hours. So it's a meteorological term. And here it is. It's going on again, hitting the Rockies and the plains with blizzard conditions. Now, on Twitter, I'm posting lots of stuff on, I was posting about the Arctic recently, the Arctic sea ice collapse. And that's a big part of causing this persistent global warming hole, if you like, in North America. Here's the so you can find. I tweeted out this boat crossing the highway. Okay, now if you do a search when there's ongoing things happening, You can just do a search here. Okay, so I just put in hashtag flooding, and it's got the top news here. So spring blizzard brings fear of more Mideast flooding. Major systems buried some areas under more than 2 feet of snow, and a state of emergency has been declared in Minnesota. This will probably come up to Manitoba in Canada as well via the Red River. So what's going on in the big picture? Okay, so Climate Reanalyzer is an excellent tool to allow us to see this. So we're looking at the 2-meter, just Google Climate Reanalyzer. We're looking at the daily situation, today's weather maps, the 2-meter anomaly. And what we can see is we can still see that there's this global warming hole, this persistent trough, which I talked about in some previous videos over North America. The Arctic is warm, okay, and Antarctica is a bit on the cooler side, but there's mostly heat around the planet, except for North America and now Northeast Asia. Okay, so starting with some of the news reports. This is just in the last couple of days. Another bomb cyclone is hitting the Rockies and the plains with blizzard conditions. Powerful bomb cyclone. These bomb cyclones are typical of storms that develop off the east coast of the U.S. coming from the northeast ashore. They're called nor'easters. Okay, this is a type of situation that normally develops in these storms, but now we're getting them over the land. So one of the things is we've had a very cold and harsh winter, lots of snowfall. It's been cold for a long period of time. The ground's frozen, so the ground got saturated with water, and then the ground froze, and it stayed in this frozen state for all winter. And when we had the first storm come through around March 10th, 11th, the water had nowhere to go. So after all the snow fell, the jet streams moved on. The trough moved upwards. We got warm, humid air and lots of rain on snow, and the water had nowhere to go, and it caused this massive flooding back then. But now, and the same thing is repeated. So now we're into early April, and we're getting the same sort of thing, exactly the same sort of thing happening. This is some of the worst hit areas here. And then if you go further, if you go to the southwest, it's dry and hot and extreme fire conditions. So looks like you can't win right now. So let's have a look at Earth. So if you Google Earth Null School and you bring up the jet streams, 250 millibar air, 250 millibar wind, what we're looking at here, this is, I went back, so this is the present conditions, and let's advance a day. So what we're seeing here, so North America is sitting here. Okay, now look at the jet stream configuration here. It's splitting here, and I'll just advance a day. So this is April 9th and April 10th, and what you can see is now you can see this strong trough coming right down here, bringing the cold air from the Arctic. The jet stream is very fast here, the warm, humid air, and on these frontal boundaries, you get these storms spinning up, this cyclone spinning up, and the pressure dropping significantly and depositing all of this snow. So this is now the 11th, so it deepens. Okay, you can see the extent of it over North America. And then it's still very strong and persistent here. And then it starts to move on. Now look at the action here. Look at this. So we're getting strong rotation here. Remember, when you have a low in the northern hemisphere, the air is coming in from the high pressure areas around. It gets deflected to the right by the Coriolis force. So you get this counterclockwise rotation, You get the low pressure area here, and because it develops so quickly, it's called bombogenesis. Okay, so what happened? Now, what happened a month ago? Okay, just bring up some articles from a month ago. We had another bomb cyclone, which dumped 4 to 5 feet of snow in various places in the U.S. The pressure at the center of the storm deepened, dropped 24 millibar in a 24-hour period, qualifying it as a bomb cyclone. It bottomed out at 969 millibar. Okay, this was a pretty spectacular image here of a truck. It's just going along, and now it must be empty, I think, because there just seemed to be, it just seemed to be lifted up and thrown onto the road. Okay, so powerful blizzard, powerful rainfall, etc. Now, the 969 hexapascal or millibar central pressure. Here's some weather maps from some meteorologists, and they're saying, the winds and this guy's saying, 972 millibar. They were tracking it as it was decreasing. Okay, and they came to the conclusion, 969 millibar, one might even justify 968. So what does this mean? Well, 969, it's equivalent to a Category 2 hurricane. Those are the type of winds. That's why the truck got blown over, etc., etc. Okay, now this is the Earth Null School going back to March. So this is March 10th. Let's go back a little bit more, the 9th and the 8th. So notice when you click on the date, you can go back. The date is here, so March 9th. So if you just change the 9 to a 10, 11, 12, or whatever, change the year, it's a quick way of going back and finding a specific period that you want. So change the date in the URL, and it brings you to that location. Okay, so let's advance a day at a time. So this is March 8th. Here's the orientation. Okay, so we've got the jet stream here. Cold air is coming down here. And look what happens as we go to the 9th, March 9th, 10th. Look at this forming off the coast and then moving ashore. So here we go, moving over the U.S., right? And then this right here on the 13th. Okay, so we get all of this rotation. There's a very powerful low here. The bomb cyclone formed in this region. Now, the problem is how this is going to impact the farmers and the food supply. So Midwestern farmers that were gambling, they could ride out the U.S.-China trade war by storing their corn and soybeans anywhere they could, in bins, tubes, barns. And, of course, the record floods devastated the farm belt, flooded out a lot of these crops and caused huge economic damages. As the rivers rose, levees were spilled over. Farmers watched helplessly as the waters consumed not only their fields but their stockpiles of grain. The grain gets wet. If it's in a confined space, it expands, and the pressure just forces open the confined space. So that we had grain elevators that literally broke apart at the seams at the bottom, allowing all of the grain to spill out and get wet. So it all has to be thrown out. So there was huge amounts of grains and soybeans, and because of the trade war, China bought $12 billion worth a year from American farmers, but Chinese tariffs have almost halted the trade, leaving farmers with crops they're struggling to sell for a profit. So they stored it because the prices plummeted, and now a lot of it is being damaged. So there's a huge amount of crop losses. Also, the fields are wet, so stuff can't be planted. Prices have already started to go up a bit. Okay, this happened back in March. Seeding normally begins in April, and of course that's not happening because the fields are flooding, and it's possible that there'll be yet another bombogenesis, bomb cyclone storm, coming up in the next week to 2 weeks. Okay, I'll